Sephiroth. Oh no! Not another swordy! Sword characters suck! Great longer mark for Smash. Whoopee! Anime Swordy number 40 joins the roster. Boo! Oh no! Oh no! So I kind of wanted to address the argument for the people who have this kind of thought process. Not to say that it's inherently wrong with this way of thinking, but I figure maybe I can offer a little clarity on the issue. In the original Smash Brothers for Nintendo 64, out of 12 characters, you could really only classify Link as a swordie. Even though we kind of know he's like a pseudo-zoner swordie hybrid, Link has a sword, so he automatically falls into the category of swordie. Fast forward to Super Smash Bros. Melee, free Melee, Marvin Roy joined the cast as to what would be classified as the complete sword archetype character. All their moves were based around their use of the sword. Fast forward again to the Brawl series, and now you have Pit, a dual sword fighter, Meta Knight, a speedy rushdown kind of sword fighter, and Ike, a heavy sword fighter, bringing the total of all swordies to easily 6 out of like 35 character roster. The iteration of Smash 4 bumped up the roster count to 58, revealing new swordies like Robin, a magical spellcaster swordie, and Shulk, a laser beam time controlling swordie, and then well, nothing really unique after that, if we're being honest. This here is the point in time where the too many swordies claim sort of took off. You see, this was the game that introduced the 3 staple archetypes of the game: me brawler, me sword fighter, and me gunner. They were revealed. Along with them came like 3 universal stats that could be like upgraded: the punch, the sword, the blaster, or the gun. This kind of low-key confirmed that characters in Smash were all derived from one of these, let's call them, classes. Essentially what this means is that while the characters may all seem like they're super different and they all play completely unique from one another, it's more so that this is a big glorified brutal game of rock, paper, scissors. Swordies versus brawlers, brawlers versus shooters, shooters versus swordies. You can, your character is just like a slight variation of that class. So I say that to bring up the argument of too many swordies, and I ask you this: if the game has a predetermined system in place where it literally classifies a third of its own characters' basic types as swordies, how can there be too many swordies? That alone should kind of debunk a few of the people who stick to the TMS argument. But with that said, here's my theory on why this mindset or way of thinking sort of came about. Rewinding all the way back to Smash 4 again. The total swordies mentioned so far is 8 out of the previously mentioned 58 roster casts. You see, along with the 8 mentioned, we began to receive a slew of more so underwhelming characters. Lucina and Dark Pit, 2 carbon copy clone characters of Marth and Pit, with very minor differences between them all. And then DLC hits and we get another Fire Emblem character who fights with the same moveset as Marth, only he's faster and he's on fire, or sword's on fire, I mean. But it's okay, it's Roy. He was here since Melee, free Melee. He gets a pass. So, some people classify Mewtwo as a swordie, like, because of his tail, and that gives him the range of a swordie, but Mewtwo's always been more of a pseudo gunner swordie hybrid with a bunch of god powers thrown into the mix. And then after that we got Cloud, a genuinely good pick for a sword type character, if I do say so myself. A faster Ike with a bigger sword, you can't go wrong with that. And directly after this, text messages. And directly after Cloud, what's this? Oh snaps, it's another Fire Emblem character with the same moves as Marth, only this time they're a dragon. And This was kind of around the time the too many swordies phrase started to trend around the Smash community. Despite the game really only having 14 sword-based characters out of the 58 roster game, that's a difference of a total of like 44 other characters, meaning that a third of Smash's total fighting game archetype doesn't even share a full 1/3 of the space that it's supposed to occupy. Well, strap in, kids, there's still one more game to cover. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate for the Nintendo Switch boasts a complete roster of 74 characters before DLC, which included sword characters like Chrom from Fire Emblem, who had the same moveset as Marth, and Ganon changed his moves to have a sword, even though they were ripped from Ike's moveset, but I guess he could technically fall under the swordy category. I mean, after all, the Doria has become iconic. We have all three variations of Link now with the same moves but different mechanics, and I guess technically the Belmonts fall under the swordy archetype also, since they have disjoints that can hurt you from long range. I mean, a whip is not a sword, but if Mewtwo is a swordy, then so are the Belmonts. Anyway, the DLC for Ultimate gave us Joker, who, well, uses a knife, but people claim that a knife is a sword and therefore he should be in the swordy category. I'm being generous here, so why the heck not? Joker's a swordy. Then we got Hero. This character is definitely a swordy, a unique swordy. And there are people who classify Banjo as a swordy because of the way he uses Kazooie, so I guess we'll throw him in that swordy pile as well. And then you guessed it, we got another Fire Emblem character, Byleth, the character who everyone says that's not a swordy, that's a weapons master, but the majority of her attacks are dealt by the sword. Up tilt, down tilt, forward tilt, all use the sword, as well as up smash, up air, and even her recovery uses the sword in whip form, so that's still a swordy character, despite what Sakurai tried to say in that reveal. Now at this time I can tell you're like, well, Arcade, that's a lot of sword characters you just mentioned. And while you are correct in that assumption, to show you how incredibly ridiculous this argument is, the current number of sword characters out of the entire roster is 24 out of 82 characters, and that's being extremely generous, claiming that certain characters like Mewtwo and Banjo fall into that category even though they don't have swords. So that's less than 30% of the roster falling under the category of swordy in the Super Smash Bros. Roster. And yet the argument is still being claimed that there are too many swordies. In my honest opinion, I feel that what happened is that during that time period, when the game was fresh and exciting, and we were all expecting different characters who wielded swords, but you know, they had different unique sword-like playstyles. Instead of getting that, we kept getting spoon-fed Fire Emblem characters. That's the fucking issue right there. It's those damn Fire Emblem characters. Why the hell are there so many damn Fire Emblem characters? And why are they all just slight variations of Marth? The issue isn't that there are too many swordies. It's too many goddamn Fire Emblem characters. All jokes aside, I still, till this day, believe that all the hate being directed towards swordies came from the inclusion of so many Fire Emblem characters. And you know, you could say Byleth is in swordy all you want, but like I said, majority of their moves come from the sword she carries. I feel like if the Fire Emblem characters were revealed with different weapons, like the way Fire Emblem series advertises itself, you know, with like the weapons triangle and all of that, we could have all reached this conclusion much sooner. Maybe give Ike a giant axe instead of a giant sword, you know? Maybe give Corrin a spear or a lance, solidifying her as a Dragoon class warrior. At the very least, the diversity in weapons given would at least mitigate the whole too many swordies argument, but what's done is done, and nothing about it can be undone, so I guess I'm done. Now, I get it. Arcade, cool video and all, but what really was the point of this video, you're probably asking? Well, dear viewer, I will tell you. The point of this video is to inform you all that Sephiroth is not just another swordie. He's not just another generic anime sword character. No. Instead, I want to inform you all that he is the ultimate swordie, and I'm going to body everyone with him, for he is my new main!